Hello, my dear Pisces. So, as I started doing your reading, I got an image of a dolphin, which of course makes sense, fish, all that stuff. But the thing about dolphins is, what strikes me about them is their beautiful, graceful movement, and the fact that they are so free, that they've got the whole ocean to roam in. You know, you could have been any old fish. Why are they showing me a dolphin? So I'm looking at this, and the sense that I'm getting with them is freedom. The song that comes to mind is I Want to Be Free. That's, as soon as I saw the dolphin, that was the song. And what it feels to me like, Pisces, oh, by the way, this is for the week of July 14th, or when you hear it and it resonates. What it feels like to me, Pisces, is that you have a spirit that longs to be free. You have a yearning for growth. You have a yearning for change. You have a yearning for expansion. And whether it's through the arts, because a lot of you are extremely artistic, or whether it's through spirituality, psychic phenomena, I feel like for you, anything to do with art and creativity is working on the same part of the brain, working with the same part of the brain that we use for intuition, mediumship, psychic phenomena. So I think you're very, very closely linked to that because you are an extremely creative sign. It just kind of comes from you because you're very much in touch with the unconscious. And that's where a lot of your inspiration comes from. Like, you probably dream a lot of it, or wake up with it, or as you're going to sleep, you come up with many ideas, because that's when you kind of shut off your logical mind, which is also extremely strong and powerful. But you let go of that. And of course, the less anxious you are, the more you're going to have that information, that inspiration, all of that come to you. So what I'm feeling is this idea of I want to be free. The song that came to mind was the one by the Beatles. I want to be free like the bluebirds flying by me, like the waves out on the blue sea. And then it goes on to say, if your love has to tie me, don't try me, say goodbye. I want to be free. Now, I don't know, for some of you, this may be about a love relationship. And I want to be free doesn't necessarily mean I don't want to be with you. It means don't cramp my style, dude, or dudette, whatever. It could very well be that you're coming into a space in your life right now where you're feeling as though you need more creative freedom, you need more spiritual freedom than what your current situation, whether it's a relationship or a job or, your geographical location, your whatever's going on around you might be preventing you from being able to take. So what you're being told here is pay attention to any cognitive distortions that you have, because what you're being told here, you've got angels everywhere and you've got prayerfully, which says to me, whatever you're trying to move through, however you're trying to expand, however much you might be in a state of overwhelm or leaning towards overwhelm, which you can do because you can take on a lot of things, and you can take them on with great good intention and with an excitement to do them, but then they can kind of build up to a point where it's like it's too much all at once. So you're being asked to take care of yourself and discipline yourself so that you set your tasks as a priority, but you set them knowing what they are, and that your goal is to follow through with them, but follow through with them in a way where you are not allowing them to take you into overwhelm. So what does that mean? Well, that might mean saying, yes, I want this project. So, you might be writing a book, but then you get an idea for a wall mural, and you're trying to do both at the same time, but now they're competing with each other. Well, can you focus on one knowing that the other is going to be there for you when you're ready. And if you need to take a few notes or ideas down, maybe you want to take a quick sketch of what you want to do for the wall mural. If you have an idea, maybe you want to write some notes about what the book will be, but then put your attention on where you want it to be. And because in that regard, you see, what happens is you have the freedom to do it. If you are in a state of overwhelm because you've got too many things going on, you're not free. Having a lot of things to do doesn't free you, it can actually constrict you. So what you're being told here is really quite very deliberately here to please be aware of where disciplining yourself can actually create more freedom by getting you out of overwhelm or preventing you from going into overwhelm. You're also being you're also being told here to maintain a calm focus within the context of this. You know, you use your intuition, interact with the world around you, your intuitive insights, all of those different things to kind of open yourself up to the idea that angels are everywhere and that you can use, prayerfully can be definitely invoking higher power, but it can also be just staying aware of the nature of what sacred is to you. The other dimension, the flow of that intuition, the flow of that creativity. So you've got the intuition card here as well. So I figure that for some of you, whether or not you have any particular kind of religious affiliation, there is the capacity for you to really tune into that intuitive channel and really embrace the understanding that there is a dimension beyond this table and chair reality, and that you get to play with that. You get to engage with that as a part of how you want to work. But you can only really do that if you get out of overwhelm and you go into a nice calm focus. Now, again, you're being asked, okay, cognitive distortions, watch out for languages and attitudes that are absolutes, okay? Watch out for statements that seem real but seem factual but are not factual. They're just expressions of a feeling or a thought, but they're not actually real. The example I always use is, I have nothing to wear. How many times have we heard that? Oh, I have nothing to wear. Well, no, you do. You just don't really want to be wearing what you've got, or you specifically want something else. So pay attention to cognitive distortions in your life and around you that can kind of pull you out of your center, because cognitive distortions are not true facts. And yet they can be stated and felt as though they are true facts in a way that kind of limits you and takes you down. So please be aware of cognitive distortions. And you're also being reminded, angels are everywhere. Okay? Expect angels to be everywhere. Expect to hear from them. Expect your intuition to guide you. Angels, today imagine that everyone you meet is an angel sent to you by some benevolent force for your own best good. Now, of course, that can be even when it's a situation that seems not so great, but maybe actually is going to give you something very much that you need. When you look at this, that everyone's an angel, everyone's an angel, no matter what they look like or how they behave, how does it affect how you behave towards them, and how does it affect how you feel? How does it shift the dynamic in your life in general? Because remember, it's not just strangers. What happens if, you suddenly perceive your cousin as an angel? What if she were an angel sent to me? How would I treat her? How would I be with her? It can be in some ways it's actually more powerful when you apply it to the people you already know, because you've already got an expectation and a personification of them that is very different from probably very different from them being angelic. So it's a reminder, I think, in this case, to remember that it goes beyond just thinking of it in terms of everyone's an angel. I think what, in this case, for you, Pisces, what it's reminding you is everybody has higher guidance. Everybody has a soul. no matter what they look like, no matter how they're acting. And that's maybe where you need to look at some of cognitive distortions that have been happening for you around people, especially if you've been feeling that people have been unfair to you, or there's a bit of concern about what their intentions are. That could be really something to look at. Okay, so definitely, you've got angels everywhere. You've got prayerfully, you've got intuition, which for me also is about the dimension of spirit. So I would say, Pisces, for you, this is very much a point. Now I've got the attack card. And in the, okay, so what I feel also is this, is that check your boundaries. And when I said cognitive distortions, that goes with that too. Be aware. Okay, I get it. Be aware that if you feel attacked, it's really easy to go into statements that are real cognitive distortions. They always do this. They're horrible people. They're horrible people. That is a cognitive distortion. They may be being horrible now. They may not be a horrible person. And besides, who defines horrible? But that's also very good to keep in mind when you get into that. When you feel attack, I'm going out on a limb here. If you feel attacked, people using cognitive distortions about you, be careful not to use cognitive distortions about them, because you are remembering that they are an angel, no matter what they look like, no matter what they've done. And you can use this as a moment of moving away from your own sense of being attacked, your own sense of victim, your own sense of drama, and move it into a bigger picture of, okay, if this person is an angel here to teach me, what might it be? Okay? That is it, my dear Pisces. Take care.